Obviously, the town of Ida Grove wasn't like this 100 years ago when things got started, that is for sure. It was founded back in the 1800s, all the way to the present. This town from then to now certainly has changed just a bit. A couple of pivotal points, though, in history that have made this town what it is. KCAU-9 reporter and Ida Grove native, by the way, Tyler Euchner is here with me this afternoon and has more about some of that history that's made this community what it is. Tyler?
Thanks, Tim. I gotta say, the name Ida Grove actually was started up by one of its earliest settlers. The Ida portion comes from the fact that we're in Ida County, and that was established during the time period that the first settlers kind of came in. And then the Grove part was actually kind of chosen a little bit interestingly by the fact that there were some trees as well as just the landscape that was right next to the settlers' home.
There was one man who settled, well, his name was Samuel King, and he settled in 1855, I believe. But he only stayed a year. But the following year, the Comstock family moved in and settled. And the next month, the Moorhead family came in to settle, and they were just a few miles apart.
When the Comstock and Moorhead families first moved to the area, it was called the Village of Ida. And the settlement grew over time due to the construction of a post office, courthouse, and several other buildings. It wasn't until 1887 that the town would truly flourish.
The railroad owned almost all of Ida County, and so they had land to sell. And they're the ones that brought people out here. They advertised all over out east. I know some of my great-grandparents came from Pennsylvania. There was virtually nobody living in this county until the railroad came, and then the railroad really recruited people to live here.
Not long after the arrival of the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad, the name Ida Grove was given to the town, thought up by Mrs. Moorhead. 5 years after the railroads arrived, Ida Grove's population would eventually reach 2,000 people, and the town was booming. However, the Great Depression would eventually hit the town hard.
Life was really miserable during the 1920s, and it really went down. And the 30s weren't much better. I can remember the 1950s even. There were just empty store buildings in Ida Grove, and it really went down from about 1920 till 1950.
It wasn't until a man by the name of Harold Goberson moved from Mapleton, Iowa to Ida Grove that the town would be revived.
And that's the best thing that ever happened to us, because he had such an inventive mind, and he's got all kinds of industry started here. And then he brought his younger brother.
Harold and Byron Goberson made many changes to the town. Harold founded Goberson Smith Construction Company in 1946, and with his son Gary, eventually founded Gomeco in 1965, constructing and selling all sorts of construction equipment, while Byron created Midwest Industries in 1954, and originally focused on agriculture equipment like the bolster hoist, which tilts grain boxes and empties them. But in 1959, the company pivoted to creating boating products. Both companies are still here today and are a vital part of the community.
Well, it sure made a lot of interesting jobs. The employees of Midwest and Gomeco, they have products that they have to service all over the world.
Now, I gotta say, growing up in Ida Grove all my life, I never quite knew exactly the reason behind a lot of these castles, like the one right behind me. But I recently learned that Byron Goberson was actually behind a lot of these, and they were constructed, from what I've been able to find out, during the 1970s. And it's just because he really liked castles. Now I'm gonna send it back to you, Tim, live in Ida Grove, Iowa. Tyler Euchner, KCAU-9 News.